Hi, hello, hello. We're reading another chapter of Sangatsu no Lion. This is chapter 92, which is called Family, Part 2. Now, the first chapter on family had a lot of different families. Well, it had Rei-chan and the sisters, which is maybe what I more expected from a chapter with that title. But it started with the family of this Kenji, who is currently challenging Soya in the Meijin title match. So I don't know what this chapter will be, if we return to that plot point, if we talk some more about Kiriyama's relationship with the sisters. It could be going in any direction. Here we see Momo riding on a very My Little Pony-esque pony. I believe I already saw this as a color illustration somewhere. This is kind of like the black and white version for the in-chapter thing. I guess our little cover page arc is over. Momo got her new clothes. This is what happens inside that Clover store, I guess. I don't know. Hey, I wonder. Hey, there's the store called Clover, and then the same mangaka, she made Honey and Clover, right? So is that like a reference? I don't know. Here's Momo in a little rabbit outfit. So cute. Okay. And the bullet train flying off to somewhere. And here we see Kenji, who's reading, of course, a shogi book. It's called like Seven. I can't read the rest. And then a woman and her little boy get on. Presumably they're sitting right behind Kenji, or right in front, maybe? Or near him, at any rate. I assume they're going to interact. And the kid is thrilled because Nozomi is so fast. I also wrote on Nozomi. It's absurdly fast. It feels so wonderful watching the scenery fly by. Oh my god, I love the bullet train so much. I wish I could ride it every day. It's just so blissful. And it's like, it always happens. Like you're in Japan, you're doing all sorts of stuff, very busy, trying to cram in as many activities as you can. Then you're setting off on the Shinkansen for another city, a whole new litany of activities. But then, for a few hours there, you just get nothing. It's just the train. You've probably got some snacks with you. Maybe you're listening to music. You're taking in, as I said, just absolutely gorgeous scenery presented in a way that people 100 years ago could never imagine seeing, whizzing by at 300 kilometers an hour. Oh, it's just so wonderful. It's like just the best feeling. So Kenji, from whom we've seen very little thoughts or feelings or anything, just the study of shogi. And hearing this conversation between the kid and his mother is taken instantly back to the past. Him and his own mother. Look at that. Look at that subtle transition in and out of the flashback. And how contemplative he just obviously is in this scene. Staring out the window. I don't know if this is to be read as like a childhood lost to shogi. They've kind of, I don't know, they've suggested this sort of topic before. Like with Kiriyama, of course. He felt at a certain point all he had was shogi. That this was the only thing he was clinging to in this huge, unstable void. And it's very much presented that this was a bad thing, and that he needed a more complete life. He needed a more complete social net, social supports. But it's not like they're demonizing shogi. If anything, they're saying, like, this is what it means, this is what you have to sacrifice, this is what it has to become for you if you're going to make it to this level. But maybe that's worth it. Like maybe in the end, and also that you can have a balanced life, including shogi. You know, that of course is a lesson as well, but that, I don't know. Okay, anyway, we gotta just move on. We're just talking about like the biggest aspects of the whole series now. All right, so here we see Shimada, all-time favorite character, #1 favorite character in the series, even above Kiriyama. Well, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, obviously Kiriyama's my favorite character, but Shimada I just love too. And Bo, his charming student and Kiriyama's eternal best friend / rival. There's Dobashi-san. We didn't see him on the plane. That weirdo took a freaking train, Shinkansen. Okay. So Kenji, this Dobashi-san, I guess just does not fly. Taking the Shinkansen all the way. Dobashi-san's always gone by train, no matter how far it is. He's not good with planes. Sure. Like Saku-chan here. I can't think of what his actual full name is, but everyone kept calling him Saku-chan during the match, referring to him as a weirdo. So dismissive, and yet there's some love behind it. Kaido. Gonna get to our meeting for the broadcast tomorrow. So it's the night before a festival. We've seen these a few times before. We saw Shimada standing there in his match against Saku-chan. This is a lovely hotel lobby. Oh my lord. I wonder if this is a real place. Most places are in this series are based at least on a real place. And there the two of them are, receiving their bouquets. Both of them pretty inscrutable. Game 1, the challenger Dobashi-san achieved victory with an astounding central Hisha. What are your thoughts, guest speaker Shimada 9Dan? Always things to think. So he's like breaking outside of his mold a little bit. Not doing ranging Hisha anymore, but central Hisha. So my understanding, if I can remember, is that this is referring to the rook, so it can move in any number of squares forward and back and side to side, but no diagonal movement. So a very, very strong piece in both chess and shogi. And generally in shogi, there's kind of two schools of thought. One is that you should have your rook centrally located, providing vertical support for kind of the main central attack force of your army. Okay, and then the other one is the ranging rook, where it's more about having the rook have a lot of horizontal movement and able to attack each column. But then you, of course, have to kind of free up some space for the rook to range like that. So I think this is, my understanding is that this is like a pretty fundamental choice in how you play. That no matter kind of what openings you're doing, which is openings in shogi are largely defensive, like building up castles and stuff, no matter what sort of attacking style you have, one big choice that's kind of independent of the rest of them, are you going to have your rook central or are you going to have your rook ranging? So to have a variant in that, I think is quite the anomaly. Maybe Shimada will explain further. There have been those who have said they couldn't believe the always careful Dobashi 9Dan would play such a daring move. What is your view on the matter? Well, it's the Meijin Championship. There's no room for new ideas or guts here. I think he came into this match determined to become Meijin this period. This is really interesting, the way that this has exploded into the plot. This new character, this new challenge. Like maybe Soya will lose. Maybe Soya's kind of place in the story as the strongest player, indefeatable, is actually being challenged here. And then it's like, oh my gosh, this opens up so much space in this new character, in this Kenji character. At home I tried lining up the pieces quite a few times. When I saw the signs of how deep Dobashi 9Dan's research must have been, to be able to hypothesize every kind of board as thoroughly as he seems to have, shivers ran down my spine. Ooh, I love shivers just ran down my spine too. Just this shot of Shimada studying the matches, and then this swirl of like watery depths around him, layer after layer, spiral after spiral, the pieces just caught in suspension. Oh my gosh. I've always thought of myself as a hard worker. After looking at the notations of Dobashi Nine Dan's first game, it made me feel that I had become complacent in my own hard work. Honestly, now I feel pretty embarrassed. Oh, Shimada! Oh, I love you so much! Just keep doing your best. But I guess that's just it. He's become complacent with the fact that he's doing his best. As if his best was some defined, set-in-stone thing. Some limit beyond which he couldn't surpass. You can't be complacent in doing your best. You have to do better than your best. It's been good medicine for me. I'm going to focus my mind and work hard this season. Nikaido is moved. It looks like he's almost moved to tears by Shimada's resolution here. Matsunaga, 9 Dan. I'm tired of looking at this card. So I guess this has been quite a few times now that Kenji has challenged Soya for the Meijin placement. So it's been the same match card over and over again. It's a combination that ain't changed ever since they were kids in grade school. All of a sudden, it was like I was constantly watching these two duke it out. Almost all of them with Soya coming out on top. Recently, I've started seeing the two of them standing next to each other again. At some point, I turned into a grizzled little man, at Dobashi. Until not too long ago, I thought of him as a youngster. I'm really getting on your space. I take aging over going bald any day of the week. Poor Shimada. And Shimada is the same age as all of them. And yet he's never considered, he's like put into the same generation as like the president and Saku-chan and stuff. Like, he's just an honorary old person. Some gaffs would really warm the place up, don't you think? Doing it for the gaffs. Doing it knowing that he would say something outrageous. Pretty great. That is obviously the president's style. We've got rank down, stagnating, rank up. Oh, I love the president. Okay, did you know there's a spin-off series about the president when he was a young man? None of it's being scanlated. I'm so upset. I really want to read it. I don't know how I'm going to read it. Dobashi 9 Dan. We'll give him a greeting for tomorrow. Long gone back to his room. You can always count on him to do that. If he eats any of the great food or uses the bath, he's all research for the next day's game. And when he wakes up in the morning, he'll eat the 3 onigiri he ordered to his room the previous night. Do some mating shogi puzzles to warm his mind up. It's like clockwork. Oh. We've seen a few characters before whose kind of purity in this sense has been highlighted to various extents. But it's always been kind of offset by some quirk or indulgence or something like that. And it's almost like all of that was in preparation so that we can finally encounter someone who's truly like this, you know? Look at these shots though. Look at Saku-chan. Must be a robot inside that human exterior of his, right? That's why he's so stiff. Yeah, he's been on the TV. He's been on TV this entire time. We can go for something just a little easier to put on the airwaves. So here we see Kenji's routine. He's in his room. The tag's still sticking out of his shirt. Oh, I love this guy already. And then above the closet, check this out. There's this bottle of cleaning supplies. Now this is just a little environmental detail, right? I'm not suggesting that like he brought that or that he requested it to be there or something. It's just that this is something really amazing with manga that doesn't hold true for almost any other medium. That everything does have some deliberation behind it. That was, they chose to draw this in this scene. And to me, it just sort of has this really kind of, how do I put this? Like, imagine you're Kenji and you've been going to these tournaments your entire life. and you've been checking into hotel rooms, and you've been going through your routines, and then you just like see these things. You just see these objects in these rooms, and you have no relation to them. You have no attachment to them. It's just that your life is full of them. That everywhere you go, you're confronted with just these scenes, and just including a little detail like that to latch onto, to give us a trigger to think, like, what would we be thinking in that situation? I don't know. Am I crazy? This is how I read things like this. Because it is that good. It truly is that good. And so we can trust that that the feelings we're feelings are so legitimate. Makes his coffee, eats his food. Lots of little chocolates and sugar packets and cookies. He eats and eats. This is the night before, still. All these books piled up. First day of game 2. Now this chapter is called Family, remember? And it's like we saw that one flashback on the Shinkansen, right? That was kind of taking us out of Kenji's perspective. Then we go through all these other characters. We hear about Kenji's reputation through them. Very kind of common thing this series does. And now we've like returned to Kenji again. And there's so much weight to everything that's being depicted, all of his behavior. Even though we don't see his thoughts at all, we can infer so much from what we've learned. It's like that flashback in the train, I'm sure, is still playing in his brain. Or if not, that alone says something quite significant. It's like everything is just lingering on. Everything we know about this character lingers on to watching him sit here, eating snack food at 9:30, looking through shogi matches. And now the first day of game 2. I see the beach, the hotel. I'm gonna look for pictures of this place. It looks pretty crazy. And here, this is a shot we saw earlier, or like an excerpt of this shot of Kenji sitting at the board and Soya walking in behind him, standing above him. We saw it in kind of the imagined panel where Saku-chan was saying he is determined this period to become a Meijin. Or no, Shimada had said that. Yes. Thinking back to when they were just children. No Kiriyama in this chapter, but of course we did see Nikaido. And Nikaido and Kiriyama have basically the same history. That they were the 2 strongest children in their region of their area. And so they ended up playing each other like all the time in every children's tournament. Okay. Alright, now there's actual moves. We're seeing some shogi action. I think I'll try to decline to comment on anything because I sincerely would have no place to even begin trying to speak on the actual matches, but oh, you know, I still want to. There's no Bashi Nandan going to counter that. It's Gote this time after all. Meaning that he doesn't go first. Side food option for him. See how he responds. Blocked the Kaku's path. Okay. I don't really know the significance of this move. The shot, though, of him moving his pawn is just magnificent. That's all I can say. I'm so impressed. Going for central Hisha even as Gote. Does he know this is a Meijin tournament? Oh yeah, so there's the static Hisha, which doesn't move, the static rook. Then there's the central rook, which I think moves back and forth and attacks horizontally. And then there's the ranging rook, which moves back and forth horizontally and attacks vertically, I think. Or maybe I should stop talking about shogi because I really don't know that much and I need to research more if I'm gonna say anything intelligible about it. So this is cool too, that at first they're shocked. At first they think he's being incredibly reckless, and then they remember who they're talking about. And they realize that this must actually reflect an absurd amount of hard work, that he must have actually done the research behind this, that he's doing so confidently as if it was a move that he played all the time because he's put that much work into this new line of thinking. And then Shimada, yeah, he knows, like, that if this is true, and he actually did put the requisite work in behind this move, then that again represents another gigantic body of work that Shimada just simply cannot compare to. This feels more like someone mounting on top of you and beating you to a pulp. Oh, poor Shimada. See, at first I thought, you know, because he's kind of the same era as Soya, and he's gone up against Soya in title matches and stuff before, that Shimada might be regarded as Soya's rival. But no, there was already somebody else who's clearly better suited to be Soya's rival. And Shimada is now this kind of awkward third wheel of their generation. As I said, already relegated to generations beyond him just because of his poor health, an honorary old person. So yeah, Shimada watching this and realizing that for all of Soya Meijin's genius, that Dobashi-san is also just outclassing him in terms of hard work. Yeah, I can see why that feels like someone mounting on top of you and beating you to a pulp. There's 2 more pages. Ah, regarding families that support shogi players. So sometimes when these blog posts kind of comment on things that are happening in the main plot, I'm concerned that somehow they're going to be like spoilers almost, that they're written more with the perspective of someone who's like working on the series and not someone who's been reading it after the fact. So yeah, and if not spoilers outright in terms of like plot points, I think that would be pretty unreasonable. Then spoilers in terms of letting you know where the kind of emphasis points are, letting you know what aspects of the series they thought were important to highlight, and thus kind of leading you to certain conclusions about where the plot will go. Regardless, I'm going to read them because they're intended to be read, and I think they're very wonderful. Not only for shogi players, but anyone that fights for a living, they say the support of a close family is indispensable. Other people's parents are very important as well, I feel. It's nice when a child that loves shogi gets told by those around him that he has talent, so he enters the worlds of pros. But the reality is that it's totally different from the showy world they observed as a fan. A tough, painful world. So as a parent, one must think about what to do when things go badly. Many times, or dozens of times, more than the person it's actually happening to. It's an interesting idea. That you, as the pro, should not be responsible for surviving when things get really, really rough. That if you play concerned about how terrible it could get if you lose, then you're going to self-sabotage, you're going to fall into the very things you're afraid of. You should be thinking purely of the game. You should be thinking purely of how to excel in the game. And that the problem of supporting you, the problem of seeing you through when times are tough, fall onto your family, fall onto your support network or whatever. Successfully becoming a pro shogi player is a relief to parents. But when they're supporting them after that, the feel of being a pro is completely different from being in the Shoreikai. And the Shoreikai is like the shogi school where amateurs that are approaching pro level study and train and stuff together, where I guess they would probably need financial support and such from their family. Now then, after a blooming age being single, I got married and my wife supported me in all sorts of ways. Being in the same industry that overcomes most problems. A pro player knows how a pro player feels more than anyone, after all. So I guess he married a pro shogi playing woman, I believe, is what he's saying here. With a respectable person, this is the phrase the shogi world uses for marrying someone outside of the shogi world. Really? That's so funny. I love that there's so many games that we see as kind of almost sacred and distant, and for pure intellectual types, very kind of refined. Often from within those groups, there's no such reverence. there's and there's almost this self-degradation. There's this self-deprecating humor of calling people outside the shogi world a respectable person. I don't know. It seems fairly consistent. For some reason, the only one that's coming to mind right now is Carl Magnus. That's his name, right? Magnus? No, Magnus Carlsen. I don't know. He has some ridiculous name. Why can't I think of it? The Grandmaster World Champion of chess, like the best chess player right now, will often get drunk and play blitz chess or blitzed chess, or like very, very fast chess games online under the handle Dr. Drunkenstein. Like, to me, this is clearly, I don't know, just kind of an indulgence in the degeneracy of chess, in the inherent degeneracy of devoting so much of your life to a game. Um, and really kind of throwing to the wind the general perception and stereotypes around players of such intellectual games, and embracing just the kind of absurdity at the core of it. I love when series address this, when they kind of cut through the mythos of their own sport or their own game. In ping pong, the scene where they're trying to encourage Smile to go pro, and he says, "Making your living from ping pong seems kind of creepy to me." Like, it's so, I don't know. Anyways, okay, anyways. Respectable person usually isn't used to it at first, so they can feel lost. Though in my case, mine is a pro Go player rather than a shogi player. So she knows what matches are like. Oh, that's cool. Whoa, I wonder how they met each other. That sounds like it could be a series unto itself. A man who plays pro shogi, a woman who plays pro Go. Somehow this Romeo and Juliet star-crossed couple, um, I don't know, they meet somehow. But anyways, there are things you shouldn't do when someone has a match. There's nothing worse than getting really irritated or angry the day before the match. Yes, fights between husband and wife are the worst, and shogi is a game with a very large mental aspect. Not trying to sound too high and mighty here, but there are 3 things shogi player wives or husbands to female players must never do. Getting depressed along with them when they get home after a loss, mount pressure on them to win and win, constantly ask about every little thing they heard in books or on the internet. Keep those in mind. Yeah. I don't know, these seem like good advice. I think this is probably good advice for any sort of relationship with any sort of professional player. These are things to keep in mind. Again, my reference point is largely Super Smash Bros. Melee. And yeah, I would say, I don't know, this seems to reflect the sort of relationships that the best players have. That there's an appreciation and support, but also in some senses a distance. There's many senses in which you have to just leave them to their game. Yeah, okay. Babashi's mom is always concerned for her son. Yeah. And there's one more page. I don't know what's on this page. Oh, just a little drawing of the god of death, Namorekawa. Hopefully we'll see more of him soon. I'm sure we will. Until then, lots of other adventures to have. So bye-bye for now.